Hi, thanks for watching Scott Leroy Marketing. My name is Mandy. Today we are going to show you the common mistakes that are made with mailing labels and how to easily get those corrected. So I'm going to troubleshoot with you the three most common mistakes we see with mailing labels. And as you can see on our screen here, we have our contacts all lined up. And you can print out mailing labels a couple of different ways. I could go over here to the three dots on my right and select that and export mailing labels. These will do all of your contacts in your entire database. So if that is your goal, you can select one of these. If you select as the CSV, that's going to be an editable version. It'll be on a spreadsheet. If you export the PDF, it's going to be an uneditable document, meaning that it is fixed on a piece of paper or digital paper for this matter, where you cannot make any edits to it once you export it. So I'm just going to go ahead and export the PDF version, but I don't want to do all my own contacts. I only want to do the contacts that are right here that I already have pre-tagged and I've already filtered by that tag to find only these contacts. So I'm going to go ahead and select all button right here, and you'll notice the bulk action menu opens up. So from this bulk action menu, I still have those same export options. You'll just notice that you're not seeing the CSV. So I can export mailing labels as PDF or export mailing labels, which is the CSV, the editable document right here. But for us, this just now, I'm going to print off the PDF or export the PDF. You'll notice you get a green banner saying it was successful. I'm going to refresh my screen here so that I can get the notification that it is done. If you have a large file, it may take a little longer. Ours is pretty small, so it's already ready, and I hit my notification bell, and right here I have my notification mailing label export. I can click download from there. It not only marks the notification as read, but it also went ahead and downloaded our file right here, bottom left. Now, if you have settings on your computer that are a little different than mine, your file may have downloaded somewhere else and it may not show at the bottom of the screen. It doesn't mean it didn't work. It's just wherever you've downloaded them or set up your computer to download them. So here are our mailing labels right here. And I'm going to point out some obvious things. These again are the top three issues that we see with mailing labels. The first would be what you're seeing right here with Joe Bob Sample and Sally and Joe Bob Sample. You'll see the name is duplicated or doubled. So I'm going to address this issue. The next, you'll see Consuelo and Deanna Consuelo. They actually printed out separately, even though they supposedly have the same address, and it should only have one mailing label to that one address. Next is Chris Harper. Now, I know that Chris Harper has a husband named Billy, and I know that they are both in my contact database. I know that I've set up the relationship between those two contacts, and I was expecting to have a mailing label printout that would have both of their names for that same address. So, as I'm seeing here, Billy seems to be missing. So these three issues, number one, having your name duplicate on the contact mailing label. Number two common issue is that they print out separately and show two different mailing labels for the same household. And number three, a missing label altogether. So we're going to troubleshoot these. The first one we're going to tackle is the Joe Bob sample and the Sally and Joe Bob sample. Let me stop myself right here. If you had a bigger database that is not so obvious that what your issues are, maybe you had pages and pages of mailing labels that you've just exported, I want to show you an easier way to see the issues. So the first thing would be to go back to your database here. There we go, other tab. And on your database, you can export as that CSV file that I was showing you earlier, the export mailing labels here, or top right, three dots. You can choose this one as after my banner goes away and export labels right here if you're doing your entire database for the CSV. So putting it into a CSV, we'll put it into a spreadsheet. I'm going to show you that now. And it is easier to see what the problems might be or where missing information might be. So I'm going to refresh my screen again. So we'll get that notification bell that my export is ready. There it is. Click notifications. click download mailing labels. You can see this time it did export in a CSV format. So we're going to double click that, give it a second to open in Excel. It's just taking a little minute. And again, you don't have to do this. It's just easier to see the issues that need correcting. Now, important note, correcting it on the spreadsheet is not going to correct the mailing label issue. You do need to make the changes in your command database. Seeing it on this spreadsheet is just going to help us find the small issues. And here we go. I'm just going to spread this out and zoom in just a hair so you guys at home can see this a little bit better. All right. So give me just a second to adjust my columns here so you can see everything. All right. Okay. So here is our spreadsheet. This is our mailing labels exported as a CSV file. And we'll notice here that, and I had an extra one up there. Don't know why that particular one is showing up, but the Joe Bob sample and Sally and Joe Bob sample, you'll notice that it's still showing duplicate names. So I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot that in Command. Pablo and Consuela, they actually printed out separate, right? They printed out separate mailing labels where I wanted them to print one, and you'll see a very slight difference right here that tells us what it was. If you'll notice, one address says Ave, one address says Avenue. Now, this may be also, you'll see this when you may have imported the contacts, and when you imported them, you had the entire address right here on this same line, like having the city, state, and zip all on one line. Now, if you imported like that, yes, your import did go through. However, now your contact profile in Command sees this entire address just in address line 1, so it thinks that it's missing the city, state, and zip if it were not here. Okay, so in that case, it's also seeing it as a different address. The system will read that and see it as a different address than 111 Fiction Avenue. It only notices that a character is different. It doesn't understand that it's all right there. It's just not spread out into the appropriate fields. So just wanted to point that out. If you see just the smallest difference, then it will read it as a different address and print out those two separate mailing labels instead of putting them together. Okay, so just letting you know something there to check for. You can also check that as well whenever I'm just undoing what we just typed in and changed. You also might notice that a country is missing or that the city is spelled differently, something like that. Any change, any difference in the primary mailing address or primary address on the contact profile within Command will cause it to print out separate mailing labels. The third situation that we were talking about is Chris Harper is showing, but we're not seeing Billy. So if you're not seeing the person show up at all on the CSV file or on your mailing label, chances are they don't have a primary address on their contact profile. So that'll be the first thing that we go and check. And the second thing would be to make sure that relationship is set up between Chris and Billy and that it is seeing them as spouses or whatever the relationship is on your command profile. So just wanted to show you the CSV file so that you can see how it just easily shows you any issues that might be going on. Let's tackle our first one, the double name for Joe, Bob, and Sally. So I'm going to minimize that spreadsheet. We're going to go back into our command here. Make sure we're looking at just the contacts that we want to do mailing labels for. There we go. So here is Joe Bob sample and Sally sample. You'll notice Joe Bob only has his name on the contact. Sally has hers and Joe's. And that's the issue. That's why you're seeing the double names. Because as long as you have the contacts both here within your contact profile, each one should only have their individual name on them, along with the relationship set up for those contacts. Now, there's one caveat. If your couple has the same primary contact information, let's say they only have one primary phone number and one primary email that they want to use, then you can have them under one contact within Command. Okay. And it can have both of their names on that one contact. Any marketing sent out or any mailing labels exported out from Command, it's going to use the primary information on that contact profile. So if they only have, again, one email address, one phone number, or one primary mailing address they want to use for contact or for marketing, it's okay to have them under one contact profile and have it say Sally and Joe Bob. However, most of the time, you're going to have individuals that have their own individual email addresses. They want to receive marketing to their own email addresses. They want to receive the neighborhood updates. They want to receive the saved searches to show them the new listings that are on the market. They're going to want to receive those emails to their own individual email addresses. And in that case, you will want to have them separated into two different profiles, two different contact profiles. You'll want to have Joe Bob with his own primary email address on file, and you'll also want to have Sally with her own primary email address on file. In that case, they have their own contact profiles. You'll want to make sure that that relationship is set up. So I'm going to click on Sally and scroll down, and you'll see right here, relationships. Joe Bob is set as her spouse, so that relationship is connected. You'll notice it's a hyperlink when I hover over it. I can click this and it'll immediately take me into Joe Bob's contact profile. So the relationship is set up correctly. The only issue is that name. So I'm going to come in here to Sally's and I'm going to correct her name on here so it is just hers and save that information. All right. And now you'll notice that Sally has only her name on her contact profile. If we go back into contacts here, it is corrected Sally sample and Joe Bob sample. Now, when I go to print those mailing labels, export them, we will do that in just a moment. It'll show you that they will now print together because that mailing address is identical, the relationship is set up, and only their individual names are on their contact profile. So again, one of the most common errors are the duplicated names printing out. That will solve it right there. The second issue is with the multiple labels printing. For Pablo and Deanna Consuelo, remember on our mailing addresses, they printed out separately. They actually printed individual mailing labels when to me it should be one because it's the same mailing address. Okay, but remember when we looked at them on the spreadsheet, we noticed that one has Ave and the other one has Avenue. Okay, so in this particular case, I know that I need to make these match. I'm actually going to go in and adjust Pablo's to match Deanna's. Let's go in and do that now into our command database. Keep closing my window instead of going to the tab. All right, so I believe it is, actually, I think it's Deanna's that I entered incorrectly on purpose. So let's go into Deanna's. Again, I'm just going to quick check my relationships at the bottom. Yes, it is connected to Pablo. Okay, that's great. So I know that's good to go. I'm going to hit my pencil here, scroll down to add more information, additional contact information, and this is where the primary address lives on that contact. Here is the address right here. I'm going to go ahead and X that out and just re-enter. Okay, so hers was correct. It did have it. There we go. Okay, maybe not. I'm just going to update that. All right, back to contacts. Let's go check Pablo's. I actually don't have to go into edit. I can just scroll down to see that address. There it is. Okay, so we should be good to go. Those two match now. We can go back to contacts. Now that I know that each one have their own contact profile, the primary address matches and the relationship is set up, that should solve the problem with Pablo and Deanna. Remember on the spreadsheet how it showed Ave and Avenue? This should be corrected now. They both should show Avenue. And we should be good to go there. I'm just going to double check it real quick just because I'm second guessing myself. Avenue. She had Avenue. It's his that I need to make sure says Avenue. Just a second. His still says Ave, and I need it to say Avenue. So I'm going to come in here and adjust his really quick, add more information, add additional information. And again, guys, usually it's just adjusting whichever one you want to match the other one. And it usually is very clear which one might be missing the zip code or the country, something like that. However, for me today, I just couldn't remember which one I altered manually to be able to give you this example. So I want to make sure. All right, now that should be perfectly good to go for Pablo and Deanna. The third option, or the third issue that is a common error we see with mailing addresses is going to be the missing label. So Billy and Chris are both right here within the contact database. However, for Billy, he didn't show up on the mailing labels. Right here, we only see Chris showing up. So I'm going to go in here to Billy's profile and scroll down, make sure that relationship is set. It is, so that should be good. However, we are missing that primary address on this contact profile, and that is why it's not showing the mailing label. That is the number one issue. Usually, if you see someone missing off of the mailing labels, it is because they don't have a primary address on file. So in case I went too quick there, I'm just in Billy Harper's contact profile. I'm going to hit the pencil so we can edit. Scroll down, add more information, and click again to additional contact information. And if you scroll down, here is the primary address where you enter it. It's wonderful. It will Google auto searches here to help you enter the address. So this does reduce the number of errors that we have. So that's good. However, if you have imported these contacts, sometimes it's missing and it just needs to have this manual adjustment to remove it and add it back. Okay. So now that we've saved those changes to Billy Harper's contact profile, I'm going to scroll down. Great. We're seeing that primary address on file now, and I can go back to contacts. We should have resolved all of our issues here. So I should be able to select these contacts again. And we're going to try again to export the mailing labels in a PDF. We got the green banner of success there. I'm going to refresh my window to make sure the notification comes up. There it is. And go grab our file through the hyperlink in our notification. Download, give it just a second. There it goes. Let me zoom in and voila, we have resolved all three issues. Joe, Bob, and Sally do not have duplicate names anymore. Pablo and Deanna, now the system sees that it has the same primary address since Avenue is spelled the same way on both contacts. And for Billy and Chris, Billy is now showing, even though the relationship was set up there, he was missing that primary address on his contact profile. Now that we've added it, it's resolved the issue. So thank you for watching today, the three most common issues we see with mailing labels. We thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we'll be happy to help you or help troubleshoot anything you have going on. Thanks for watching again.